Hello, good morning all. So far we discussed about the adaptations of different living organisms in different habitats. Okay. So now we entered in the last part of the chapter, that is about the characteristics features of living things, or how living things are different from non-living things. Okay, so from lower class onwards we are studying what are living things and what are non-living things. We know a correct idea about what is a living thing and also what is a non-living thing. In page number 87 you can see a funny poem. Just go through the poem and read the textbook. Okay, you know that what are the living things around us and what are the non-living things around us. And we studied some of the features like living things can grow, living things can move, like that. A number of features we studied. What are the features of living things? Okay, but when we are considering all these two or only a few features, we can see that it's not enough to define a living thing properly. Okay, we know that plants and animals are the major living things over this earth. Plants and animals appear to grow in size and also they are moving. But just think about the clouds. Clouds in the sky. It is also growing in size. And it is also moving. So is it enough to distinguish between a living thing and a non-living thing? Yes, we know that we have to find out some more features of living things to define the living things very correctly. So in page number 88 we can see the major or the important characteristic features of living things. So first one, living things need food. One of the very important feature, living things need food for their growth and also to make their body healthy. They need food. So plants and animals are the living things. Plants can prepare the food by themselves with the help of photosynthesis. What about the animals? All animals, including human beings, we are depending on these plants for the food. So, for producing energy and also to make our body as taller and bigger, we have to need food. One of the main feature of living organisms. And another one, all living organisms show growth. Okay, that we already know. All the living organisms from the early times of its life, it is starting to grow. And after the germination of a seed, the seedlings which can grow to a big tree or to a big shrub or to a herb. Okay, what about the animals including human beings? We are also growing from birth onwards. Okay, so another feature of living organisms is that they show growth. Then all living things respiration or breathing. We'll study more about respiration in higher classes. Respiration is a type of production of energy in our body and it is associated with the breathing. Okay, the process of breathing and respiration, these two are different, that we'll study in higher classes. Okay, the process of breathing, that is a simple taking in of air and also giving out of air, and it is a common process. It is a common process and it is very essential for life. Okay, that is why all living things need to respire. Okay, respiration gives us oxygen. This oxygen can produce energy with the help of various metabolic activities in our body. We'll study in higher classes what is a great role played by the respiration in our body. The respiration of different organisms, that may be different. Okay, most of the terrestrial organisms, that is the organism present in land, they have the well developed lungs or respiratory system is there to take in this oxygen. But some animals like earthworms, frog, etc., they can respire through their skin, and some of the aquatic animals, Their respiration is somewhat different because they have to use the oxygen dissolved in the water that we mentioned in the beginning of the chapter. Okay, for that purpose, there is a well developed respiratory system that's called gills. Okay, so respiration process is different for different types of animals. And what about the plants? Plants, they are taking in oxygen and giving out carbon dioxide like that of animals at the time of respiration. Okay, for that purpose, we can see small openings throughout the leaves called stomata. Stomata are the small openings present in the leaves which help them to respire. Like that, throughout the stem and throughout the leaf root, we can see small openings. This allows the plant to breathe or to respire. We know that respiration and photosynthesis, these are two different processes. Okay, these two processes, they are taking place in plants, but photosynthesis, which may happen only during daytime in the presence of sunlight, but respiration, that is the throughout process, day and night the plant is respiring. Okay, the next, the organisms respond to stimulus. Do you know what is the stimulus response relation? Suppose when we are exposed to a bright light, very bright light suddenly, what will happen to our eyes? There is an automatic response. What is the response? Sudden closing or blinking of our eyes. That is a response in our body against or towards one stimuli. What is the stimulus there? Light. That sudden bright light is the stimulus. To that bright light, we closed our eyes. Closing of our eyes is the response. Like that, when you move towards a bird, what will happen? Suddenly it may fly away. Okay, so the movement of our body towards the bird, that is a stimulus, and the flying away of that bird, that is a response. Okay, then somebody is pricking you with a pin. Somebody is pricking you with a pin. At that time, what will happen? We will withdraw our body parts suddenly. So pricking of that pin, that is the stimulus, and withdrawal of our body, that is the response. And this kind of stimulus response relationship, that is very common among living organisms only. When we are pricking by a pin over a stool or over a chair or over a table, is there any response? No. Okay, so the living organisms, they have the capacity to respond towards external stimuli. Okay, stimuli means all kind of changes in our surroundings that make us respond to them. A number of changes are there in the form of heat, cold, then pain, etc. A number of stimuli are there. Stimuli is this plural form of stimulus. Okay, stimulus which can make or induce response in living organism. That is one of the peculiar feature of living organisms only. Okay. To understand better about this, there is an activity given there in the chapter. That is activity 4, I think. That activity you can just read and understand more. That is a bending of plant part towards the sunlight. Another feature, the living organism excretion, that is the removal of waste. The process of getting rid of waste by living organism is known as the excretion. So, the removal of waste or process of excretion is a very common process among plants and also animals. Okay. Then another one, all living organisms reproduce their own kind. Production of young ones or production of similar kind of individuals. That is also one of the very common characteristic feature of living organisms. Reproduction may be different for different types of living organisms. In case of human beings, cows, goats, dogs, etc., they are giving birth to young ones. But birds and other fishes, etc., they are laying eggs. And in case of plants, what we are doing? The seeds are germinating to produce a new plant. Then another feature of the living organism, all living organisms move. That is the last feature. All living organisms, they can move, changing their place from one area to another area. That is the movement. And the movement may be different for different types of organism. In case of plants, we can say very slow or very little movement. That is usually associated with the growth. Okay, bending of plant part towards the sunlight. At that time, the plant is growing. At the same time, it is moving or changing its direction, opening and closing of flowers, and also touch me not plant. What is that? Tottavadi. When we are touching the leaves of this touch me not plant, what will happen? It may droops suddenly. That sudden drooping of these leaves, that is also one of the example for plant movement. Plants are also moving, but a very slight movement only, whereas animals, they can move very usually or very commonly. This is also one of the feature of living organism. Okay, so we know that life means the sum total of all these processes that is happening in all the living organism. Anyway, we are not able to define what is life, and we can see that looking around all these beautiful phenomena, all these beautiful characteristics, we can see life is beautiful. Okay, so that's all about the chapter. Want to read the chapter again and again and make a clear idea about the chapter. Okay, thank you.